Wow, always incredible. So, we have our next speakers are two young women who are causing a ripple in the world. They are doing such fantastic things. They have been making a change with a project that they've started called We the Children. I'd like to have them come up and tell you about the project and how it came about and introduce them. Their names are Affleck and Lauryn Varnell. Please come up and talk.
Interested in this massive issue when I was around 10 years old. My mom told me to watch a documentary called The True Cost, which I'm sure many of you have heard of or even seen. After watching the film, I was appalled. How did I not know about this massive issue? I became more conscientious with my purchases, so I haven't bought from clothing companies such as Forever 21, Zara, Urban Outfitters, H&M, for about 3 years now. But it wasn't until my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Porter, who's actually here in the audience today, told me to make a presentation about the laborers behind my clothing that I was actually able to fully dive into the crazy world that is the fast fashion industry.
I became aware of child labor in the fashion industry when I joined a service learning group with my 6th grade teacher, Miss Murphy, and with Lauren. Throughout my work with this group, of which I eventually became co-president, I learned of the scope of modern child labor, the myriad of industries today which rely upon underage workers, and the need for inexpensive, widely available, and responsibly produced fashion alternatives. My personal interest comes from my passion for education and my firm belief that it is a fundamental human right. Lauren and I have been privileged enough over the past year to meet with several experts to further our extensive research, and even had the incredible opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C., where we advocated in front of our nation's lawmakers on behalf of child laborers. Our journey will culminate here today, so thank you for being here with us.
So tonight, Violet and I will be telling you some things that we find shocking and interesting, some possible solutions, and some things that give us hope. So something that we found shocking when we were first researching this project was the sheer amount of child workers that there are in the world. There are about 160 million child laborers in the world. So can everyone in this front row please stand up? Well, you combined with everyone who's standing in the back represent the roughly 20% of the child population who is forced to work instead of receiving an education and having a proper childhood. You can sit down. So something else that we were shocked by was how widespread the issue was. Many, including myself before researching this project, choose to believe that this is only an issue in what we would call third world countries such as Bangladesh and Vietnam. However, it is extremely prominent here in the United States as well. Even in California, we have children working in dangerous conditions in garment factories. We have kids working on tobacco farms, and they are subject to nicotine poisoning and lung diseases. How is this okay?
One of the most common arguments made by those who believe that child labor should exist in any form is that children in the workforce benefit their families, or that the extra income contributes to the family's financial well-being. In fact, children can be forced to work longer hours for less pay than adults because they're often less aware of their rights and more dependent upon their employers. In addition, children who don't receive an education remain locked into the same low-paying jobs throughout adulthood. This means that children replace their parents in their jobs, do these work jobs for less pay, and remain in these low-paying jobs throughout adulthood, at which point their own children will take these jobs and perpetuate the cycle of poverty and child labor. If children were to stop working, their parents would most likely be able to negotiate for a higher wage and better themselves and ensure that their children could be supported and receive an education without their ever needing to set foot inside a factory.
Next, we will be discussing some solutions. So the first solution is the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. This would be a huge symbolic step for the United States for child labor. It would ensure that children's rights are protected at all costs. It's called the most comprehensive framework for the protection of child rights, and it will be turning 30 next year. In 2015, Somalia ratified it, leaving us the only UN member state to do so. To not do so. So we should definitely have that ratified.
The United States has set an alarming precedent of dragging our feet on similar initiatives, such as the Harkin-Engel Protocol on slave-free chocolate and the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act, last revised in 1939, which allows children as young as 6 to work in the agriculture industry in the United States. Now, the United States' status on a global economic scale affords us more leverage to dictate the business practices of other nations. For example, imposing tariffs on brands or countries that manufacture products irresponsibly, or rewarding countries or brands who choose to manufacture their products sustainably, transparently, or even in America, could have a bigger impact on the fashion industry ultimately, rather than individuals' purchasing choices. Though our refusal on a national scale to participate in markets where child or slave labor is used is obviously the ideal, the responsibility rests with anyone, public or private, who imports goods of any kind from anywhere to clearly impart the message that the United States has certain ethical standards that must be upheld consciously by suppliers.
So another solution would be the transparency pledge put forward by Human Rights Watch. So this was sent to 72 companies, and it would, the companies who sign it put forward the information of where and under what conditions their clothing is manufactured. Actually, if you would like to sign a petition today at the Dignity Collective booth, it would help make the company Forever 21 sign the transparency pledge, which would be another huge step.
Child labor and the fast fashion industry in general can seem like an insurmountable issue, but there are things that you can do to help prevent children from needing to work all around the world.
So one thing that's definitely amazing is the growing awareness surrounding this issue. Last year, Violet and my service learning group traveled to Washington, D.C. to discuss with 5 United States senators, several U.S. representatives, and we discussed with organizations such as Stop the Child Labor Coalition, the ILO, and Save the Children, and their feedback was incredible. Additionally, after returning from D.C., we informed children in our previous school about this issue, and it might not seem like a huge step, but now 100 more young children will be going home to their parents and asking where they buy their clothes and telling them where to get them.
One of the most meaningful parts of last year for me was when our group, We the Children, designed a curriculum for grades 6 through 12 from scratch. This curriculum is designed to inform students about the issue of child labor and empower them to take action through their own purchasing and activism decisions.
And remember the transparency pledge that I mentioned earlier? Well, 18 of the 72 companies have made steps in the right direction. 5 fall just short of the full pledge alignment, and as of last year, 17 companies were in full pledge alignment.
But it is people like you who truly give us hope. By being here tonight, you've demonstrated that you are willing to pay attention to problems that need to be solved and change the world one article of clothing at a time.
So when you go home, try to tell 3 people about what you learned here tonight and challenge them to tell 3 other people. We believe that with your help, we can help end child labor. Thank you.
don't really want you to go. We don't want you to go. That's like a master class. Can you put your hands together again, please?